I think it's a pretty good fit. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a pretty good fit. It's gonna probably get them into the playoffs and secure them like top 6 seed. I'm predicting. They have a good starting lineup now with Chris Paul, Booker, Bridges, Johnson, and Ayton. But the problem is their bench. Like, who do they have besides Cameron Payne? They have to re-sign Aaron Baines, so they don't even have him right now. But yeah, it's not something that's gonna make them win a championship because the Suns weren't a Chris Paul away from a championship.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes Devin Booker happy, and it's probably gonna get him to stay happy for the rest of his contract at least. And that's always a good thing.
Yeah, so the trade was CP3 for Kelly Oubre, Ricky Rubio, Ty Jerome, and someone I've never heard of called Jalen Leck.
Yeah,
But yeah, so like you said, they don't really have much of a bench right now. But as an organization, this is a move that they needed to make because Booker was probably looking like the next star who was going to start asking out of his current situation. So yeah, this is going to keep him happy for like Chris Paul is probably the player that you want to get if you want to make your current superstar happy because he just kind of makes the whole team better and doesn't really dominate the ball either. Uh, so you said you think this is going to get them to a 6 seed. I agree with that,
yeah,
but I think Chris Paul definitely would have signed off on this trade. I think there was a mutual respect in OKC, and I don't think they would have traded him somewhere that he would not have signed off on. What do you think?
yeah. The other teams that probably were offering him like contracts were probably the Knicks and like
Yeah,
maybe the Hornets or something like that. And obviously, if he goes to the Knicks or Hornets, it's just to like play out his contract. Can't really contend. Maybe make the 8 seed because that's how good of a player he is, but
yeah.
not really do anything else. The problem with staying in the West though is this team could still miss the playoffs. So that's kind of risky and it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, the thing is, it seems like wherever Chris Paul goes, he just kind of makes them play better than they look on paper. Like no one really expected anything out of OKC. I mean, people expected them to maybe be in the 8 seed race, but they were comfortably in the playoffs and had a really good first round series. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised if they make even higher than a 6 seed. Like I said, they're not winning a championship. But if Chris Paul signed off on this, this is probably the best option out of all the teams that realistically could have landed him. And yeah, like I don't know what the Bucks were offering. Obviously, as we're going to talk about soon, the Bucks are pretty comfortable giving up a lot for good point guards.
Yeah,
But I like the fit for him. I think they're going to be a playoff team, and I also like the return for Oklahoma City because Oubre is a pretty good young player. Ricky Rubio is a pretty decent point guard, and
that pick, that
yeah,
pick
that
could be
pick,
pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah, the thing is, who's OKC's third scorer? I mean, not OKC's. Who's the Suns' third scorer? Like we know
yeah,
Booker's gonna get 25.
yeah,
Chris Paul is not what he used to be. He's gonna only get you 16 points. It's a very impactful 16, but that's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Like they need a second 20-point scorer who consistently gets that day in, day out. Bridges hasn't showed any signs of that. Johnson hasn't showed any sign of that. We already talked about them having no bench. So
yeah.
this is a lot of pressure on DeAndre Ayton.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has to be a 20 and 10 guy.
And he was in the bubble. He was like we kind of did in our bubble winners episode. Everyone on the Suns was a winner, and DeAndre Ayton looked kind of like the first overall pick that he was in the bubble. So I mean, yeah, it is a lot of pressure. And if there's any player who can get the most out of a guy like DeAndre Ayton, it's Chris Paul. So I mean, this could be the breakout season for him next year.
Yeah, and DeAndre Ayton he's gonna get shouted at if he doesn't
Oh yeah,
anchor that defense. Chris Paul's gonna give it to him. So this is this is kind of setting up for like a DeAndre Ayton season where he
yeah,
kind of elevates himself. Because if he's just that 18 and 8 guy that we seen last regular season, this team's probably gonna miss the playoffs. Because we've only seen with the current trades, we see obviously the Thunder falling out of the playoffs. We obviously assume Golden State's gonna come in and take that spot. So for the Suns to like elevate beyond a Mavs or a Portland, they really need DeAndre Ayton to be a top 5 center in this league.
Thanks for watching. Listen to the Stretch the Floor podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on Instagram.